Hi everybody, it is Tuesday, June 7th, 2016. This is the day of the California primary, so everybody go out there and vote for Bernie if you're a true progressive. And that brings me to another subject. I find it kind of funny that some people call themselves liberals, not progressives, but liberals, who despise feminism. They despise Muslims, all Muslims. They despise religious people in general and consider them to be inferior. They despise other cultures and consider them to be inferior. They post memes about bombing civilians and laugh and chuckle about it. A meme where they show people at the Hajj, dressed in simple sackcloth, walking around with other believers, and then another picture of a giant crater saying, "Here's the solution to the problem." Liberals. These people refer to other people, other religious groups, as cancer. And then they mock and scoff when you point out that's the talk that they used before every genocide. Historically, they're too ignorant to understand that, so you bring it up and they just laugh at you. Liberals who hate feminists, threatening you with violence if you disagree with them, and calling you gay, calling you a woman, calling women names. Liberals. Now, the people I'm talking about in particular are those people at the Nightmare Fuel podcast. This podcast where, I guess it's on YouTube, they have this Twitter channel that looks like the contents of a mass grave. I kid you not. Just full of skeletons. And they never show their face. They're always just a picture of a skeleton. And there's another guy on there who's just a picture of some guy, drawn, but he never shows his face either. And some girl that never shows her face, but just has a picture of a mean-looking robot. And she hates feminism too, by the way. And every other woman I saw on there hated feminism and came on to just spew the most ridiculously filthy garbage and hateful nonsense at me. And just, meme after meme of Muslims, polls where Muslims say the bad things supposedly, and then, pictures of Muhammad talking about how he raped children, and all this just nasty, just vile hate. And these are liberals, okay, at the Nightmare Fuel podcast. Now, I stumbled onto their video the other day where they're just kind of chuckling and mocking my video talking about Sam Harris and just dismissing everything I say out of ignorance because they just don't have a clue. And so, yeah, of course, Sam Harris is clear about his views. He never prevaricates or makes excuses or changes his views. And so I got angry, of course. I put up a video challenging them to a debate, or I made a video challenging them to a debate, but it didn't go up. And in the meantime, I was talking to them, and they actually agreed to debate me, so I didn't put the video up. I just let it go. And I had my debate with them. And again, they never showed their faces. It's me and these two guys. And at that point, from their behavior, I started to suspect I was talking to tweens, people that are like 10, 12, in that range. That's just what I started thinking, just based on their behavior. Now, I don't know that for sure. I don't know their chronological age. But I can tell you their emotional and maturity and intellectual level was about at junior high. So that's what I started telling them, and nobody ever disputed it. I just told them, all you're junior high kids, aren't you? And they never said anything back. So maybe they are, I don't know. But, so these guys, they started debating me. And the main tactic was just to say this ignorant thing and then end it with fool or like stupid or dummy. And when they would put in the little, oh, the U.S. doesn't control the Middle East, fool. And then the other guy would go, and they would just chuckle and laugh about it. And I found that just, for one thing, just really, it made me angry, but also it was kind of funny because it was so ridiculous. And that was their, debating tactic. And then when I would say something like, well, Palestinians have a right to defend themselves. Oh my God, this interview's over. We are done with you. And so I would just keep talking to them, of course, and the indignation would just evaporate again, and they would be back to the same thing, but these guys, they didn't have any good arguments. Just like, yeah, all religions are bad and most Muslims are bad. And when I would, just point out some of these historical facts to them, they just weren't interested. When I would say that, well, actually, the U.S. has shaped the Middle East and European powers have shaped the Middle East, and we've created all of these countries. And, there are a lot of countries where we don't control, where there's not a lot of extremism, there's not wars going on because we don't control that country and prop up a dictator over it. They were totally not interested, couldn't have cared less. All they wanted to think about was, okay, 80% of Muslims in Afghanistan, a war-torn hellhole, prefer Sharia law, so that means they're savages. And they don't like it when I say that they're saying that, but they're saying these people are horrible, terrible people. So isn't that what that means? When they're backward and horrible and terrible and believe evil things, that's a savage. That's what that means. That's the dictionary definition. And these guys, seems like they don't have a dictionary because, a friend of mine said, hey guys, you're xenophobic. You just hate other cultures. You're xenophobes. They had no clue what that meant and didn't want to know. I told them they're bigots. They gave me this weird, nonsensical definition of bigotry. They don't even know what bigoted means. They don't understand, the relationship of race and religion either. So they don't think that you could possibly hate all Arabs and Africans and still be racist, because they're not all the same race, so you can't be a racist, right? And I said, well, we all know Muslims aren't white people. And they said, yes, they are. Muslims are white people. It was just ridiculous sorts of things. And during our debate, of course, it became clear to me that they were partisans of Israel, of course. Not that they're really interested in the fact that Israel is a race-based state that discriminates against people based on their ethnicity. So, in other words, if you're a European Jew, you're at the top. If you're an Arab Jew, well, you're not really at the top, but you're sort of, in the middle. If you're an African, you're not human. If you're a Palestinian, you don't exist. Okay? If you're a Palestinian, you get put in a giant prison and bombed on a regular basis. And I mentioned that to the guy, and he scoffed at it and just made light of it. And I said, well, you wouldn't be scoffing so much if you and your children were in that giant prison and you could never, ever leave, and you were bombed every couple of years, and you lived in abject poverty in a crushing siege, and he said, well, I don't live in Gaza. Yeah, it don't affect you, so to hell with it. I mean, what scumbags to just dismiss other people, entire nations of people, based on a couple of little numbers. And then say, well, if you're in a giant prison, fuck you. It's not me, so it don't matter. That was the attitude. Now, again, I felt like these people were very young, very ignorant, and I felt like I crushed those guys. And you know, it wasn't hard, but I wanted it to be kind of civil, and I would talk and they would talk and we would be civil, you know. So every time I started talking, these guys started talking over me, or trying to. Of course, I didn't let them, but they started talking over me, and they started yelling at me and calling me names. Now, okay, now they said that I was calling them names. But, you know, I was calling them bigots because they are bigots. That's a fact. That's an unfortunate truth about them. I wasn't just saying fool, idiot, dummy, moron, just to piss them off. So that was their response. And they were the ones who first started mocking me to begin with, and saying all kinds of just stupid stuff about me. So then that was their excuse to just yell and scream at me and talk over me, when I was trying to be civil and listen to what they had to say. So all that just went out the window. I just took them to the woodshed, and I talked over them when I had to, and I yelled at them when I had to, because that's what they were doing to me. And so when it was all over, I felt very satisfied. I got a good ass kicking in. And I enjoyed it. And, you know, so at that point, the next day, I dealt with these people on Twitter to some extent, and it was just despicable, shameful behavior. I mean, they really upped the ante. Not just them, but all of the people at their podcast, their fans. I mean, these people were just throwing all these nasty epithets at me, calling me an animal and, you know, stuff like that, a cancer. And again, with all the memes, the hateful memes about Muslims that could have come from any Nazi website, I kid you not. It's the same sort of stuff. And they were threatening me with violence. They were telling me that, you know, we know that your wife is cheating on you, and just scummy stuff like that. Which of course isn't true, but, you know, anybody that would say that kind of garbage has not an ounce of character or self-respect. I mean, it was a sad, pitiful display the way these people acted. I lost any respect that I might have ever had for the whole crowd of them. It was like wading through a sewer pipe being hit with angry babies, just screaming at me and you know, talking about pedophilia and threatening me with violence. And then when it was you know, all over, or almost when it was over, they tried to hack into my Twitter account and steal it. Now, I don't know that for sure, but I was still talking to those guys. And they were very, very angry and just unhinged. And suddenly, I got this notice that somebody was trying to hack into my Twitter account, and I had to change my password. Now, is that a coincidence? Maybe, but I doubt it. So, I mean, just utter filth. Filthy behavior. And somebody come on and said, well, don't you realize that these people are fighting for good ideals? That these are the good guys? And I said, look at the fucking things that these people are saying and tell me they're the good guys. Good guys don't act like that. And good guys, liberals don't hate feminism. Liberals don't hate other nations of people. Liberals don't act that way. They don't threaten violence when somebody disagrees with them. They don't come off as anonymous, angry trolls who won't show their faces. That's Nazis that do that. And I told those people, you do know the Nazis take new members, right? Because I think they would be more at home there, seriously. That was the level of behavior. I've talked to a lot of Nazis in my day. Kids. And let me tell you something. You ain't above them an inch. You acted just like them. And I thought, silly me, I thought I could say, well, let's have a civil discussion. And there was actually a possibility of that, like there isn't with Nazis. Boy, was I wrong. And at the same time, just repeating these horrible things about Palestinians. Hey guys, you didn't get the memo. Everybody to the left of Dick Cheney don't agree with you anymore about Israel. Okay. Pay attention. This is a rogue ethnic state that's committing crimes against humanity, against a defenseless civilian refugee population with no army. And you're sitting there telling me that they're the bad guys. And if I even tell the truth about Hamas and say that they don't target civilians anymore, or that they also have a right to self-defense, or that they are living in a giant prison because of their race, I'm the bad guy. And they won't publish that debate, even though they promised they would. And I know why that is. They said, oh yeah, we'll publish the debate. So first, it was in the works. It was coming up. Then, well, we're having trouble with it. And then, well, the audio isn't that good. So I said, okay, send it to me. I'll fix it. I'll fix the audio. And they said, no, you can't fix the audio. I said, well, if you can't fix the audio, if I can't fix the audio, you can't fix the audio. And they said, yeah, we can't fix the audio. And I said, well, if it was broken this whole time, why didn't you tell me? And they said, oh, well, actually, we don't want to put it up because you said horrible things. Bullshit. You got your ass owned by yours truly. I beat your asses, both of you. And you don't want anybody to know it. But guess what, kids? When you play to win or lose. That's what you do if you have a bit of character or self-respect, which apparently you don't. And I'm sick to death of seeing the ugliness of the way you people and your friends act. It's despicable and disgusting. I wash my hands of you scumbags. And you say all you want and mock and, ridicule. But you and I, we know the truth, don't we? We know what happened. Thanks for watching.